Black Sabbath bassist Geezer Butler is known for a lot of things. Low tunings, bending strings, a wah pedal, his amazing lyrics. But there's one thing I seem to see amongst bassists that everyone seems to get wrong, and that's the idea that he used flat wound strings. This was never the case. Geezer only ever used round wound strings, especially in the early days. Those strings were dead, really rotten up by the fact that he was playing every single day and the sweat of his palms were running into those strings. Now if you use round wound strings, you'll know after a long time of playing they sound almost like flat wounds. We're bass players, we don't change strings that often. And even though it's certainly possible to get his bass tone with flat wounds, the later stuff you're going to find it a lot harder, especially if you're looking at albums like 13. Moving to a more recent time, over the last 2 decades, Geezer's been using the DR Black Beauty series for his strings. These are also round wounds, black coated and look amazing. Now if you did want to achieve his tone, this is the best way to do it. Grab yourself an EMG Geezer Butler pickup, his signature model. This is a slightly higher output, classic sounding P-bass pickup. Then for an early 70s tone, you want to be boosting your mids and either using dead round wounds or if you really wanted flat wounds. If you're doing anything past 1973, Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath era, go for fresh round wound strings as well. However, for his later tones on things like the End Tour, he was scooping the mids of his Ashdown amplifiers. These were really powerful amps and he was running them at full volume with his P-bass, and then he was using the round wound strings, which were either DR Black Beauties or any other standard DR strings. Finally, the best thing I can say is get yourself a decent overdrive, or make sure your amp has a decent overdrive. This will cut through the mix and blend really well with the guitar sections. Iommi and Geezer have a really specific sound, and they even had arguments with producers over this as they tried to mess with the amount of distortion that was being used, believing that bass shouldn't have the amount of distortion it did and giving more to the guitar. Another thing to note is technique. Geezer was playing on the fretboard with his right hand between 1968 and 1972. By the time he got his first short scale bass off John Birch, that's when he switched to putting his hand more in the traditional position of over the pickups. However, it doesn't mean he didn't go back to this technique, because he did on certain occasions. You'll see him accenting notes, or in specific things like Black Sabbath or the end of the beginning verses, you'll see that he is going more towards the fretboard, getting more of that classic 68 to 72 sound from his P-bass. If you found your own ways of getting the Geezer Butler tone, please let me know in the comments below. Let's discuss this. I think it's a really cool thing, and I'll be doing more tone videos in the future. Thank you for watching.